Do you think monasticism guarantees progress?
Well, what do you mean by progress? No, not in and of itself.
Right.
It's what are you bringing to it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're honest, humble, determined, if you've got all those sterling qualities, then and you enter into it in the right spirit, as a consequence, you will gain huge benefits. Definitely. But it all depends. It depends on someone's starting position. If we talk specifically about the progress of insight, say, then it's so dependent on where your starting position was. Because some people come in, they've got mature mindfulness, mature concentration, they've got lots of faith, they know how to balance their energy, and they can investigate. They've got all the spiritual faculties developed sufficiently that they can really get on with that quickly. Most people have to do some kind of preparatory work, which is a lot to do with these parami, these perfections that we're talking about, which is developing themselves in terms of lessening self-concern, giving up views, being generous, being kind, being of service to others, to develop those spiritual faculties, so to allow the progress of insight to then develop. So it's like a bit like asking, well, how long's a piece of string? But yeah, as long as somebody comes in with the right attitude. But there's a Zen saying, Dave, many a shaven head and a hairy mind.
Yeah. I certainly felt that on retreat sometimes.
Yeah, of course. Well, yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
The Buddha said that there are those with much dust in their eyes and little dust in their eyes. Sometimes you've got lots of dust in your eyes, sometimes you've got less. It's it's nothing static, nothing. So as long as somebody has understood that bottom line, which is, there are those that do not know they do not know, they're unteachable. As soon as somebody knows that they do not know, they become teachable, and they can flourish. So I think it's the humility, really.
Yeah,
it's the genuineness.
Yeah. Because then you're most able to be taught, like, if you accept.
Taught not just by a teacher, self-taught too.
Yeah.
It's that openness. It's that willingness to make mistakes and learn from them. That's the hallmark of teaching someone how to learn. Is the most difficult aspect of teaching. Teaching somebody who knows how to learn is easy. It's so simple. It's so rewarding. Teaching somebody how to learn is the most difficult thing. Because in someone who they don't want to learn because they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to make mistakes because they've got an idealized view of themselves, or what they want to be, or how they want to be seen. And by making a mistake, they don't uphold that. So there's all that has to be sort of understood first. And when you finally let go of that, it doesn't, making mistakes is fine. Falling into error is fine. That's how I learn. That's when you transform your weaknesses into strength. You're strengthened by your weaknesses. It's so paradoxical, but it's true. And then everything becomes possible.
I suppose that's the wise reflection, isn't it? Really, looking at what was done, what the results were, and then reflecting on it.
Definitely.
Trying not to do it again.
No, welcoming it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a bit more of a subtle aspect of it. But yeah, it's remaining open to the possibility of making the same error again, and that being fine.
You see, it's interesting. I said trying not to do it again. It's all about control. It's like I can control this life into this shape by, I've spotted that shouldn't have been done. Right, I'm not going to do it again. But that's not quite right. Yeah.
I mean, because there are different definitions of control, aren't there? See, because that's the control that has an idea in mind as to what it should be. Whereas the control of of an experienced meditator or a very advanced meditator is the control through understanding of what's actually taking place. And it has no element of trying to gain a result. So it's absorption in the process and reflecting on the process, and then through experience knowing that the result takes care of itself. And so, but you see the difficulty is by going, all right, well then I have to renounce my image of what I think it is I'm heading for, which then leaves you in this position of, well, I don't know where I am, I don't know what I'm doing, and that becomes a faith issue. Can I undertake this training out of faith? That if I absorb myself in the process, I will get those results. That's why faith is such an integral and important part, not just of a spiritual training, but of life. You have to have faith. You couldn't function as a human being without faith. And people who don't have faith don't function well as human beings.
No. And it seems to me particularly important if you're going to become ordained, that faith in the teacher, because if you have to really trust in the teacher. That
I think you have to be willing to trust first. The way I like to think about it and express it is that the person that you're turning to, that person, you're asking for guidance. That person is in a position, perhaps you know a little bit about their history. Oh, this person's been at this centre for 16 years. He started as a monk, now he's the spiritual director. I'm sure if he was really awful, people would have got rid of him by now. Or he's a really good actor. But nobody can act for 16 years, surely. So why don't I just go and listen to what he has to say, see if I can practice in the way that he's guiding me, and see what happens, and perhaps put a time frame around it, like a month. This doesn't seem that long, 3 months, say. And I'll keep going back to him and asking and report back what I find and see how we can move it on. And after 3 months, I will review. Then you have real experience that you can then reflect on, and you can decide whether you want to continue with it. But because you have that real experience of results, then a real faith in that person, that instruction, emerges, because it's based on real evidence, not conjecture. And that's the difficulty, because so often we revert to the conjecture before the experience, because the experience is going to come after. The experience of the result is going to come after you've absorbed yourself in the actual process, in trying to do the best you can. And there's always that part of the mind which is trying to assess and determine where things are, and is this that's what needs dealing with. It's dealing with those doubts, dealing with the uncertainties, and fully acknowledging them. And that's not easy.
And what's your day-to-day involvement with the monks and nuns?
Well, I think that you have to understand that we're not in that sense, we're not a big organisation, and you have to give people space. You have to give people space to go and practice, and then be there for them when they've done some practice, and they want to come to you and talk about what they've done. So I'm always available for interviews. I'm not all available all the time, but the full-time recluses know that they can come and talk to me and gain guidance. And we also have a weekly Dhamma talk where we get together and we'll either go through one of the Pali Canon suttas, or someone will ask a question. We have a set of questions that I've been asked, and we'll go through and we'll talk about whatever the subject matter is. And obviously there are the Wednesday evening lectures and question and answer sessions that we do, that I'm a part of. But I'm very conscious of the fact that you have to balance being there as an authority figure, being there as the guiding light, being there as even perhaps inspiration, if that's how you're perceived, but also to withdraw and to not be there, to not micromanage people, to allow them to get on with it, and then be there for them when they've, practiced some and want to come and talk about what they've been doing. I do have I do have the role. I have to be the ultimate bad guy at times as well, because I have to be the one that ensures that the community as a whole prospers, and you can't have bad eggs. So sometimes I have to take that role of having to be the one to put in the discipline. But would somebody really want to come into a situation that didn't have that? Really? That would just be chaos. It would just be madness. Nothing would get done. It would all fall to bits very, very quickly. So I appreciate that that's an integral part of my role, the teacher's role. So that's another reason why I can't be friends. I can be a spiritual friend to people, but I have to withdraw and not be on personal terms with people. I have to keep that certain amount of aloofness, because otherwise, if I'm just mates with people, when it turns around and say, well, you're not doing that right, it's like, who are you? You're just a mate. So I have to keep that sense of aloofness and distance from people too.
So as a sort of final question, would you'd recommend becoming a monk or nun?
The obvious answer is yes, of course. I was just thinking that not everybody is right for it. But the only way you necessarily find that out is by coming and giving it a go. As I said earlier, some people have lasted a couple of days and they've gone on to other things. Other people have remained for years. It all depends where you're at, what your motivation is, and whether the way we do things here is what you're looking for. Some people, it seems to me, they want the traditional monasticism. They want perhaps the anchor that they feel that gives them. Perhaps they even want some of the romance. I think that wears pretty thin pretty quick, personally.
Because it is open to become a monk or nun here. You don't have to be involved in the community. You can actually just arrange an interview.
I did. No, I didn't. I didn't have anything.
There's no barriers, really.
No. The only barriers are the ones that we talked about earlier on. That the conditions in your life are suitable, but if they are, though, there's nothing to stop you. I mean, that 3-month noviceship, I think, is really, really helpful. It shows you what the next couple of years of your life are going to be like if you go for it. And it shows us what the next couple of years are going to be like if you go for it. And we can iron out any confusion. We can see how it goes and make intelligent, mature decisions based on what we find. Do I think that monasticism is a good thing? I think it is a great thing. I think it is the most wonderful thing. It's misunderstood. It's not understood by the world in general, but I found it to be everything ultimately that I wanted it to be, even though I didn't know what I wanted it to be. But ultimately it gave me what I wanted, what I needed, which was the space and the time to devote myself to understanding why I suffered. And if that is what's motivating somebody, then if the conditions allow it, it is an absolutely wonderful thing to do. And even as I chose to leave the monastery, the monastic order, after 9 years. It was right for me. Some people, it becomes a lifelong devotion. It becomes a way of life that they're very comfortable with, and that's beautiful. For another person, it might be something that they do for 2 years, get the techniques of the teaching really under their belt, and then go back out into the world and perhaps start a family and start a career, and they're not suffering in the same way. They may not have finished the task, but they've got a far better understanding of life, and they've finally got an anchor in life. For me, yeah, I was somewhere in the middle, but my commitment to the Buddhist teaching remains, has remained an unqualified commitment and devotion, because it is so utterly transformative. It works. Absolutely works.
Thank you, Paul.